The very first step is the gratitude one. So that's really the mindset piece of loving the home that you have, no matter where it is. Because I agree. I think you can make just about any house, any space look and feel cozy and like home and beautiful. And then the next step of decluttering. Yeah, you cannot, no matter how much you try, you cannot decorate clutter. You also can't organize clutter. You have to get rid of the excess, especially if you're short on space.
My name is Lisa, mother of 8 and creator of the blog and YouTube channel Farmhouse on Boone. Join me as I share with you my love for creating a handmade home from scratch cooking and a little mom and entrepreneur life along the way. Welcome back to the Simple Farmhouse Life podcast. Today, we are going to talk about decor and decluttering, all of those. I feel like a great fall topic, as a lot of times we're inside more. We're starting to want our homes to be cozy, but not messy, not hard to maintain with all these people in there. So I think it's a good topic for the season with Shannon, who was on this podcast before. She's from Homemade Lovely, and she has a lot of great insight to share on the topic. Shannon, so great to have you back on. It's been a long time. Do you remember when you were on last? I don't even know what year, month that was.
I don't know. It would have been for one of my books. So 2020 or 2020. When did the other one come out? 2022, maybe? I don't know. One of them.
I don't know. I don't know which one it was. Maybe it was both.
Me neither. Maybe. I don't remember.
Yeah. Okay. So tell us about your new book. We're going to talk about home decor and organizing and decluttering. And I think people are really thinking about that. I know as we approach Thanksgiving and Christmas, people think about it more. At least I do. We kind of get this, like, where I'm outside, I'm doing lots of gardening and homestead type stuff. A lot of people are outside, maybe if they don't have a homestead, at the pool or at the creek. And now we're kind of turning into our homes. So I think it's a really appropriate time to do that.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. We still have warm weather. So, I'm not on a homestead. I'm on a tiny little lot in the suburbs. Yeah, it's still warm, but we're definitely, starting to think about fall and Christmas and, all the cozy things that you get to do inside at this time of year, right?
Yes. And so you have a new book coming out, correct?
No, I have
Okay.
2 books out.
You have 2 books out.
I have
Sorry.
2 books out,
Yes.
and then I just created a new course called More Style, Less Mess.
Course
and
okay.
community.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
No worries.
I knew you had something that we were going to talk about.
Yeah.
With our home decor discussion and decluttering and all that. So tell us a bit about your course and your community.
It's called More Style, Less Mess. So it's sort of, there's 5 basic pillars to it. The first one is gratitude, because a lot of times we only look at the things we dislike about our homes. And so by refocusing on being grateful for even the smallest thing about your house, that's why that's the first step, because I find that sort of a big mindset thing, right? Like that really helps the rest of the steps. And then it's decluttering and organizing and creating home habits so that you can keep things decluttered and organized. And then of course, decorating too. So it's the first time I've put them all together in something, because I think it's really important to do all the things and not just a lot of times I had a separate decorating course before, and people sort of just skipped over all the rest and thought they could sort of decorate around the clutter. So
that's so important. Yes.
Yeah.
That is absolutely so important. I have definitely toured houses, not other people's houses. I've toured houses where my mind is removing things and I'm thinking, oh, if this was taken away, like I can see how we could actually start to make this house almost, I want to say almost any house can be a really cute and charming house. Yeah. And I completely agree with you that it does start not at throwing more at it. It actually starts before that. So yeah, talk about that first step.
Yeah. So the very first step is the gratitude one. So that's really the mindset piece of loving the home that you have, no matter where it is. Because I agree. I think you can make just about any house, any space look and feel cozy and like home and beautiful. And then the next step of decluttering. Yeah, you cannot, no matter how much you try, you cannot decorate clutter. Like you can't. You also can't organize clutter. So that has to come. A lot of times people put decluttering and organizing together because they kind of do go hand in hand. But decluttering is a very separate thing. You have to get rid of the excess, especially if you're short on space. Like if you've got all the space in the world and who cares, you keep all the extra things. But then it's not as cluttery, but you have to get rid of that excess stuff that you don't need.
I don't know. I think you're just trying to be nice because even if you have the space, if you have any other people living in the house that have the potential to remove those things from the space that they're in, like unless you're living alone in a museum that you've carefully curated and things are, stacked up really nice, it's going to be, and they have to be pretty things too. Maybe you have storage space down tucked away in the basement or the attic. Sure, you can't really see that. That almost in some ways counts as decluttering because it's not in the visual space that you're going to be decorating.
Sometimes. Yeah. It depends. I mean, I feel that like I feel that when like even the extra storage spaces, if they're too cluttered, like,
me too. Yes.
Absolutely. I'm not a minimalist by any stretch. Like I like my stuff, but like there has to be room for it. There has to be I want to say there has to be a purpose for it. Sometimes the purpose can be solely like just visual. It's beautiful. That's fine. But like there needs to be a purpose and a rhyme and a reason that it's there instead of just stuff everywhere. And you brought up a good point of, most of us, probably everybody listening to this podcast has other people that they share a home with. And not everyone's going to put things back automatically where they got it from. And so decluttering makes a huge difference on the front end of things, for sure.
Yeah. And a lot of times the clutter, we can't move past it. So we might want to decorate our house, make it cute, maybe throw a new throw pillow in for fall or something in for Christmas, but we can't even get past all the stuff that we're managing. And therefore we can't even decorate at all. So maybe we think, my house can't be decorated. It can't be cute because you see something there that seems permanent that really isn't. So how do you help people to declutter? Because I know it sounds really straightforward. Just get rid of stuff, but it's really not that easy.
It's not. And the one thing is like a lot of people will often try and handle like what's called sentimental clutter first, because maybe that's the most obvious to them. Like, people have given them stuff, it's been passed down, whatever. That's the last thing in decluttering that you should deal with is sentimental things. Wait until you've got some smaller sort of quick wins or like successes of decluttering under your belt before you try and deal with the sentimental things. The first thing to start with is like the really easy things. So in one of my books and on my website, I have a free list of like 50 or 100 things that you can just get rid of, like without even thinking about it. Right. So that's things like old glasses prescriptions that, it's not going to help your eyes. Like you're not going to be able to use them. Right. So take them to the optometrist, take them to wherever that they will take those kind of donations and reuse them for people who need them. Other things like all the excess cords that we have, like just stuff like that, that's super easy to get rid of. Like you don't even have to think about it. It's like this no-brainer list of things. That's the best place to start because you can go through any room, any drawer, any like wherever you want to start. And then from there, you sort of go through and you go, okay, like, do I need this? Like, there's some questions you can ask yourself. Do I use this? Have I used it in the last, year? 6 months if it's not a seasonal thing, a year or longer if it's a seasonal thing, or if it's like you're still in the having kids kind of era, obviously you hold on to those things longer, right? Because you might need them or you will need them for the next child. But if you haven't used it in a while, get rid of it. If you have more than one of them, and you don't really need them, like how many? Now, this depends too. Like in my house, I don't need more than one vegetable peeler. Actually, we have two because people like two different kinds of them. But anyways, like because I peel this way and everyone else peels this way. Anyways,
right.
But like maybe in your house, you need more than two because you have more than two helpers in the kitchen at a time, right? Like
we just only have one kid peeling.
Well, there you go.
Like we have one. I would never keep two because unless we're having like this massive mashed potato dinner, one kid can stand there and do it.
Yeah. So like you don't need those extra things, right? Like you just, you've either picked them up because things have been so cluttered and you couldn't find one once. And so you bought another one or something like that, so duplicates, things that don't fit anymore and they're never going to fit again. Like, whatever, like go from the easy list through the next logical things and ask yourself those questions and then move on to the things that are a little harder to get rid of. A great place to start decluttering is the bathroom. Yeah. Because, there's nothing more than likely, there's nothing emotionally you're attached to in a bathroom usually.
Yeah. No, there's not. I think some people, maybe they've always had duplicates of a certain thing. And so they think that if they didn't, it would really cause a lot of chaos or big problems. But then maybe if they actually lived with only one of a certain thing for a while, they would find that it was totally fine. But it
Yep.
takes, like, there's this fear. And then I also think that
Yeah.
people need to ask themselves with certain things, what would this take to replace if I did end
Mhm.
up needing it? Like, what would it cost? How would
Yep.
I get it? How much
Yep.
hassle would it be? Could I
Yep.
borrow it? A lot of
Yep.
those questions are.
Yeah, yeah. So in the course and in one of my books, there's a list of those questions. Like, and that's one of them. Can you borrow it from a neighbor? Can you easily replace it without a lot of outlay of cash? Or, it's hard to find, not hard to find. So yeah, definitely those questions.
Yeah.
Like that's what you need to do.
And you talked about I didn't want to skim over the gratefulness for your home piece,
Mm,
because I
yeah.
think that's an important part to start, or important place to start. Because if you think up front that there's no possible way a house like this could ever be cute and cozy, you're not going to take the necessary steps, even the first step, because you're going
Yeah.
to always imagine, well, in the next house, when we get our
Yeah.
dream home or when we're able to move here, then I'll make it that way. But I think even taking a temporary dwelling and making it, with low cost ways to do that, cozy on your own, it takes first appreciating it in order to even get to that point.
Yeah, there was I always tell the story about we had to move back closer to the city to be near Dean's work because living far away, it was too expensive and it was just really hard on him. We went through several cars in a few years, actually almost went bankrupt because it was just so expensive. So but then moving back into the city solved a lot of that, except the housing issue, right? Like we had to get a much smaller house. And it was this, we looked at all kinds of things. We looked at apartments. We looked at, townhouses and condos and condo townhouses and all these things. And in the end, we ended up buying this tiny little rundown war era bungalow. Now, that was the ugliest little house. Like, I mean, it was white, so it wasn't that bad like that way, but like it was tiny. Like it was 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. We had 3 kids. And I could have hated that house. Like there were a lot of things wrong with that house too, that we had to, fix and whatever. We started a renovation on the kitchen and the bathroom that backed onto each other and the floor was rotted. Like I could have hated that house, but partly because I had no other choice. I decided that I was going to look for the things about that house. Obviously we fixed the things that were, necessarily or dangerous for a family or whatever. Like obviously we fixed those things, but otherwise everything else had to wait because we spent all the money on the the necessary things.
Yeah.
And so I decided I was going to love that house. I was going to look for the things that I could love about it. And at first it was just, we had a roof over our head. We were closer to Dean's work and the kids had a yard to play in. Like that was why we chose that house over a condo, right? Like, yeah, the location. And so I would but I would list the individual things so that I had something to focus on. And slowly over time, my attitude began to change in that house. And over time, we did get to do some of the other things. And, that's a house that our friends literally told us after the fact, thought we were crazy for buying. That house ended up being like the start of my business, the start of my blog. It was featured on television of all things.
Oh my word, yes.
Yeah, but it literally, I wish I had a picture I could show you, but it was literally this tiny little white bungalow that was just run down and a disaster. And people thought we were nuts for buying it. But because we chose to be grateful, it made a huge difference, a huge difference.
Yeah, who would have thought that would be a house on a magazine? Whenever we went to sell our last house on Boone Street, we had so many people who came to look at the house to purchase it. And then when they got there, they were like, oh, this was not it's on a busy street. It's right next to a park. They're like, we thought just the way, you presented it and how you decorated it. We thought this was going to be, just off in a field somewhere. But I kind of had that mindset really without thinking because I was really grateful. We bought it when I was 23. It was our first house together. We had our first couple kids came home there. And I think I just thought it was so great that we bought this house. I think as you get a little older, maybe you expect more or you think oh, we deserve this. But at that time, I did have a very Like I thought it was the best house in the world. I couldn't believe people didn't love it. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. No, it's true. And that mindset, whether you stumble into it by accident or that's sort of your
Or you're
natural
intentional.
attitude towards it, or you're really intentional with it. But that's why I like to start with that, because a lot of times people, a lot of my audience does tend to forget that, you can be grateful for the space that you have. You can simply be thankful for it as it is and begin to love it as it is, and then make small changes over time. And it can be a really beautiful, really cute, really cozy, whatever it is that suits what you like. It can be a great place. And
so where do you start? Like, where did you start with your little ugly bungalow? How did you transform it, and where did that begin?
The first thing that we did was we tackled the bathroom and the kitchen, just because they were really nasty. I mean, it was a 70-year-old house and it was bad. So we, when we bought it, it was, I'm in Canada. And so at the time there was, I don't know if there is anymore, but there was this mortgage that you could do where you could put the money into the renos and then they put it into the mortgage after and sort of gave you that money back kind of thing. It was a bit of a weird, anyways, but the kitchen and the bathroom, we just did a basic reno, like with basic Home Depot white cabinets kind of thing. But that kitchen was the most organized kitchen. It was 7 feet by 14 feet with 2 doorways, because you had to walk through it to get to the addition.
Oh, that is so small.
It is so small.
So
and
small.
The stacked washer and dryer were in there too. Like it was, but it was so functional, because I packed those drawers and cabinets with like the most functional, like organizers and all of that. And so even on a budget, that was a really great. So we were very intentional about how we designed that space. And then from there, it was a matter of like, we had to build ourselves a bedroom. It was basically, we just had to put a couple of walls up, because the bungalow, it was 2 bedrooms and a living room at the front of the original. And then there's an addition on the back, the whole width. So we used that addition as the living room, dining room. So the front living room originally could become our bedroom. So the bedrooms were at the front. Anyway, otherwise it was like we replaced the flooring and we did painting and we did like the inexpensive like board and batten treatment on the wall and like just things that we could DIY and
very
do
inexpensively.
Really inexpensively. Yeah. And I think we did drop cloth curtains there for the first time.
Yeah, very
like
budget friendly.
Yeah, like the very, very budget friendly things. Paint went a long way in that house because it was so tiny too, right? But it changed the feel of the house. We bought a secondhand front door. Like we bought it off Facebook Marketplace, and my husband made it fit the doorway and stuff, like just things like that. We made window boxes for the front. So a lot of DIY projects went into that, into that house.
And in that era, everything painted white was the style. So you could really take any house and come in and just like instantly make it look so much better. Just white paint everywhere, right? And I also think small homes are easier to decorate. I found my last house, it was way smaller than this house. Just so easy. Like the ceilings were kind of low. So it was just very cozy, and like each space, it kind of made sense. Like it was very obvious what you should do with it. And then I struggled in this home with figuring out how to like elevate the eye, because it was a bit more grand. Do you feel that way? Like little homes are sometimes easier?
I do. Yeah. We've actually moved twice since the little bungalow. We moved to a back split, and now we're in a bigger 2-story house, and there's columns in the dining room. Like it's not a giant house, but there's like, they put columns in the dining room, I guess, for the open concept and whatever. And the little house was super easy, and it was cheaper just from the perspective, like at this house where I live, we have a double front door. Like that's just the way the front is. Well, if I want to buy a wreath, I now have to buy 2 wreaths. Like, so like the smaller house was great because it was one of everything. It was much smaller, and it was just obvious what needed to be done. And sometimes a bigger house, it takes a lot more. It takes a lot more budget. It takes a lot more
decor. Like it'll swallow up your decor. You put a throw pillow and you're like, where did it go? Whereas in your little house, it makes a big impact.
It's true. Yeah, no, it's true. We just, now we need to have a giant piece of art over the couch. Like it's very different. Like, I think when my kids are in their 20s, well, my youngest is about to turn 20, and, I'm like, okay, so we can downsize, right? Like we don't need the giant
little bungalow again.
I can go back to a smaller. But so it's true. Yeah. Smaller is definitely easier. So be grateful for that, even if that's sort of what your situation. Your head.
Yes. So with the Christmas season coming up, what does your decor process look like for that? I've already kind of been brainstorming Christmas and thinking, I don't
Mm-hmm.
think I want
Me
to
too.
put as much out this year. It feels like so
Mm-hmm.
much. And I'll sometimes have to hang the garland back up because a child would have knocked it off the railing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot that I like feel like it's almost too cluttered that time of year. What's your
Yeah.
approach for that?
In the past, it's been just add to the clutter, honestly. Make it look like, a Hallmark movie threw up in the
Yes, which is
house.
cozy. It's just a lot
It
of
is
work.
cozy, but it's a lot of work. And then as soon as Christmas is done, it's like, oh my gosh, I have to put this away and
Yep.
clear it out. And that's a lot of work too. Last year, I actually went much simpler. I put away some of our regular everyday decor. So my process is I pull out what we have because I reuse stuff all the time. I pick up a couple of things here and there, some new ribbon or a couple of new ornaments or whatever, almost every year, just to sort of freshen it up a little bit, mostly because I have to share it online. So everybody expects, some new ideas,
Well,
right?
yes, that's a different dynamic
right.
too.
So I think I'd probably keep it a lot longer the same.
Yes.
If this wasn't sort of my job, but I still don't go over the top and
exactly.
buy all new things all the time.
Like, are you seriously putting up the exact same blog post as last year? No, you can't do that. So to reinvent your home every year.
Right. You can't do that. At least put it in a different place, right? Like something's got to go in a different place. But so I pull out what I've got and then I sort of look at it and go, okay, I really feel like using this year. I really don't feel like using this. And then I'll sort of just start to putter and I'll put away like some of the everyday decor. Not that it doesn't go, but I don't want to add clutter anymore. Like I don't want to do that. Last year, I didn't put out a lot. I put like some pretty stuff on the mantle. We did the Christmas tree and then I swapped out I kept the same vases and pottery and stuff and swapped out what was in them. Like instead of like the regular flowers that I have out, it was greenery and stuff like that. I actually left that stuff aside from the Christmas tree. I left that stuff up till March because it was more winter even than it was Christmas. And that was super, like where I live, like it gets dark cozy. At 4:00 by the middle of winter. Like that cozy extra, like the extra greenery, the extra candles, like that sort of thing. That was really nice this last winter. So I'm thinking I'll probably do that this year and not go overboard and over the top and just swap out a few things and then add a few things. Just because I don't like the overwhelming.
I know I've been thinking about that
feeling.
too. And do you do red or do you do different colors? I know you do a little bit different each year.
It is a little bit different each year. So I've sort of gone through this, figuring out what colors I like. For a long time, I did almost no color. So it was very, 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 very neutral. Not the earthy neutral that it is now. It was very, very neutral, like cream and white and, maybe mushroom, like, and then I started adding in. So now there's a little bit more like brown and gold and, some more like naturally forest green kind of that would be in greenery and stuff like that. I don't do red mostly because I find red to be really jarring in the winter seasons when there's not a lot of other color, right? Like it snows where I live or it's gray and it's rainy. And so personally for me, I find red to be too jarring. My sister loves it though. So, to each their own always, right? Like, do you love doing red?
Yeah.
Is that sort of one that you like?
Well, I've done red several years and I was already thinking this year, like I was looking around my house and I was looking at some things, like I made some new pillows recently and they're blue and they're really pretty and I'm not going to be over them very soon. And I'm like, maybe I'll just do add some green and that'll be it. I'm kind of, I don't know. I've done the full red Christmas, but I feel like when I do that, I go all out. Like it either needs to be a ton of red because I don't introduce red any other time. And so I swap out my china that's blue for something red. And it's just a really big job. And I just don't know if I have it in me this year, to be honest.
Yeah, no, that's fair. You're right though. Cause the years that I've done red, it's been a lot of red and it's a lot of changing out of things for some reason. That's funny how that works, eh? Huh.
Yeah. Yes, of course. All right, I want to take a quick break from this great conversation with Shannon to tell you about today's podcast sponsor, Azure Standard. If you've been following along a while, you have already heard about Azure Standard, but I have been enjoying them in my home for so many years, and I think that you really will too. So Azure Standard is a place where you can get raw cheddar cheese, animal feed, bulk spices, 50-pound bag of wheat berries, 50-pound bag of oats. You can also get smaller quantities of things. It is a co-op of sorts. So basically you and several people in your area pull together an order. A big truck comes, drops it off, and you have access to things that you maybe wouldn't have in your local area and for a much better price. One of the things I get is a box of 12 pounds of butter. And I actually double that order because I put some in the freezer and we go through a lot of butter. We make a lot of pies. And so we end up going through quite a bit of butter. I order bulk frozen organic strawberries. In-season produce is usually a good deal. And then once a month, me and a bunch of other people from my area have a drop location where we meet. We pick up our orders. It's really convenient and inexpensive way to stock my pantry, fridge, and freezer with the things that I need to cook from scratch. For me, there are 2 drop locations within a 30-minute radius of me that I could choose from. I end up just doing the same one because I know who runs it. I know the location, I know the time, and I'm on that schedule of placing my order once a month there. But it's nice to know that there's options. And if you don't have one anywhere near you, which very, very likely you do, you can set one up yourself with people in your local community if there's a need for something like this. As Your Standard is offering Simple Farmhouse Life listeners 15% off your first order of $100 or more to a drop location by using the code SIMPLE15. So you can go to azurestandard.com, use the code SIMPLE15. It's a really great way to see if they have some things that maybe you would like to source for your from scratch kitchen. For me, one of the top things that I started getting from them, the first things that was really important, was raw cheddar cheese. We could get it locally, but a little block like this was like $10, something like that. And I can get big blocks, and it's something that we always have as a staple item when my kids say they're hungry before bed. Just give them a little raw cheddar cheese, and that usually does the trick. There's that, and there's so many more things that I've learned to love from As Your Standard. So make sure to head over to that website, use the code SIMPLE15. It'll also be linked in the description box below. Again, thank you so much, As Your Standard, for sponsoring today's episode. Yeah, back to the clutter conversation. I know. I think the more people we have in our house, and we got a lot of questions like from the audience about having a large family, which I know you don't have a large family and your kids are grown, but still I know you can relate to this. Okay. Yes. So it is, then you have, because you have grown up, you have like big people.
I have 3 grown kids, and one of our kids' friends moved in for the school year. So there are 6 adults living here. 6.
You're into this then. Okay. 6 adults. Yeah. Okay. So lots of questions about like, okay, you're in your home all the time. How do you keep it tidy when it's being used all the time? Like your home, we homeschool, there's from scratch cooking, there's hosting. And then also for me with, this number of people, and for you too, if everybody has a large quantity of things, just multiply that by 10, and that's what's in here. And so we've had to become more and more and more minimalist, which I'm definitely not a minimalist. I would say more like somebody called it an essentialist, the things that you need, but then some, but I mean, it's been crucial. Every child we add, and as my kids have gotten older, there's more when they're bigger people, just to, reduce per person what is there so we can actually live our lives and not spend the entire time tidying things up. Christmas time, I'm already thinking like, that sounds cluttered. Like I could see how that would be great if we weren't, filling this house up completely. There's no space that we don't use to the max.
Yeah. I mean, I only had 3 kids. But we homeschooled 2, and I worked from home. And we host a lot. Like we are using that house. We use this house. You don't have to be a minimalist, but I think I like that. The essentialism, like you only keep what you need to use. And then, some pretty things like pictures on the wall or whatever. And I think that's the key to a lot of it is the very first, you've got to declutter. Like if you've got that many people, and that amount of space, because it's a finite amount of space, no matter what size house you have. Like you have to get rid of the things that aren't essential. Like you really do. And then you assign homes for things. That's the organizing part, right? Like you make sure everything that you keep has a place, right? Like there's this awesome quote that I love. I think it's Joshua Becker, and I can never remember whether it actually is or not. But
he said something like this, I'm sure, because he's the minimalist kind of organized guy.
Yeah, I know, right? But he's like, the quote goes, if you found a fork under the couch, you'd wash it, but you'd return it to where it belongs, right? Because it has a spot. You wouldn't go and set it on the fireplace mantle or, right? Like
everybody has a spot for a fork. That's like the one thing that we can all relate to.
But everything should have a home just like the fork does in your house. Everything should have it. Your shoes, your books, like everything should have a place. And once there is that place, it is up to everyone in the house. And as the mom, you probably care about it more than anybody else, especially if you spend more time there than anyone else. So you will have to remind people, like, there is no, like, you can get your family on board. Like, you can make things easy for them. You can tell them where everything goes. You can label things. You can encourage them. You'll still have to remind them. It just is. You care about it more than anybody else does. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
And expectations that way help a lot too, right? Like if you're constantly mad that the things aren't getting put away, that's not helping anything. Like make sure everything has a home, and then when needed, help remind people where those things go. And that's going to make a huge difference.
Right.
At our house right now, it's a little bit tricky. Like the thing that drives me crazy the most right now is the kitchen. Literally, because with 6 adults and everyone's on different schedules. Like my son will literally work like 7 p.m. to 3 a.m. And he's coming home then and cooking in the kitchen in the middle of the night.
Yeah, he
has
and
his
I'm own schedule.
Put your dishes in the dishwasher. But we've already filled the dishwasher and it's full of clean stuff by the time he cooked. Like there's always going to be a little bit of, you got to clean up. Like that's life. That's a house. Like that's keeping house. But you can put systems in place.
Yeah, you have your systems, but then it requires you to work the system, because you are also, talking about decluttering. That's such a moving target. Like at this exact moment, I am procrastinating on something I know I have to do, which is taking all the inventory. I do it every October. I take inventory of all the kids' clothes. I see how many jeans do we have without holes, what sizes. I write things down. I have to basically set up what an adult would do for a capsule wardrobe for each one of my children, and make sure that we don't have too much, but that, there's plenty to wear, but not too much. We don't have things with stains, with holes, things, this is something I have to do twice a year, every year. And if I don't, the whole rest of that year runs like, yeah, sure. If I don't do that right now, we can still survive. Like we will get dressed. We will end up places. Everything will be fine. Nobody will know that I did it or didn't do it. But
you'll feel it.
If I don't, there will be tension every single time I get all those little boys dressed for the rest of this year until it's spring again, or forever, basically.
Yeah, no, it's true. One of my sister-in-laws has 10 kids, and like same thing. Like you've got to go through that stuff. Like the systems you put them in place, but then you actually have to do them. Right? Yeah. Like, we have systems here. Like that's part of like the next step after organizing before decorating is the establishing home habits. That's the systems and routines and making them have it. The ones that are further apart like that, like your daily habits are a little easier to sort of do because they're daily and they're sort of, right? They're habits, as opposed to like those once or twice a year kind of ones where you're like, darn, I got to do that again. But yeah.
And you could get away with not doing it. It's just, it'll make everything harder the whole year, because we can dig through and like find the things that fit right and find the things that'll work for the weather today. But whenever I have I have baskets for my 3 little boys, when those baskets only have things that work right now in this season, they fit, they are clean, they don't have holes. It is the easiest thing in the world to get them dressed in the morning. Yeah. Whereas when I have to be like, oh, is it upstairs in their drawer? Is it in the basket? Is it a short sleeve? Is it a long sleeve? It's such you can put it off, but you're ultimately wasting more time not decluttering. Insert whatever thing is your problem,
No, it's true. Those systems, they're there. You put them in place to help you. So it's only causing yourself harm or inconvenience or whatever you want to call it by not doing it. Right. But I get the whole procrastinating it too. Right. Cause it's a big job.
It is. It's a big, it'll take, honestly, it'll probably take half a day, but it'll take like all my attention. I need to get the tubs from the basement that have boy clothes and kind of see, oh, you grew into this and, sort. And then I'll have a list. I'll actually have to go to the store or online or whatever and fill in the gaps of what they need. And then, do these shoes fit you? Are they broken? It's
Yeah.
such a moving target. It's
It
constant.
is. I remember that with, especially for my kids, snow gear, like hats
Oh
and
yeah.
mitts and
Yeah.
boots
Up in
and like
Canada.
snow pants
Yeah.
and whatever, right? Like, I'm like, dang it, we got to buy that stuff again.
Yes.
So yeah. I mean, but yeah, so doing the systems, that's the only way to do it. And so, yeah, if you've got a lot of people, clean out and put systems in place and then do the systems. And catch up. And give yourself grace if it, like, if someone's sick or if it's a hard season, give yourself grace to sort of give leeway with those.
Yeah.
However, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But then, yeah, like you said, though, ultimately, if you can't pull it together to do that, it's going to make your own life harder pretty much every step of the way. That's what I've learned.
Yeah.
Like, I try to put this off, but then, and so with you having 6 adults, you work from home, people are in and out nonstop. How are you keeping your house tidy when it's being used all the time by all these people?
Everyone knows where things are supposed to go. So, two of the kids have their own space, and then 2 kids right now are sharing. But like, we made sure when we made room for that extra kid who moved in this year, she moved, like, it's one of the kids' friends who moved here for the school year. So because the college is near us. Yes. We set up our one daughter's room instead of like it being her room. We set it up like a dorm room. So basically everything has places where it needs to go. Like we bought an extra shoe cabinet for the entryway because, oh my gosh, that first week or 2 when everybody was here and everybody was coming and going, and like there was like 20 pairs of shoes in the entryway. Like you couldn't open the front door. And so we bought one of those IKEA like shoe things and then said, okay, you guys have got to take some to your rooms, and bring it down when you need it, versus we can't all fit in the entryway.
I have struggled with knowing when it's time to do that because we still keep every single person's shoes in our mudroom. And it's pretty apparent that that's probably not the way to do it. But also I'm like, if we put them in your room, are we going to lose them? Because we don't have, our kids aren't as old as yours. And so, it would require them finding it still. Like I still have to kind of be in control of stuff.
Yeah. So then just keep it where you can be in control of it for a bit longer then, honestly. But
yeah, it's a lot all in one spot.
I know. I can imagine. So like almost everything at least has a home where it belongs, so that like if it gets left out, I also have a rule at my house, and I have for a long time because of doing the blog and, having to share online and whatever, is the main floor at this house. So we've lived here for about 7.5, 8 years. The main floor at this house, I'm in the basement. My office is in the basement, and then there's a family room, whatever. And then the main floor is living room, kitchen room, dining room, entry, laundry room. And then upstairs is all the bedrooms. And so the main floor has to stay. Nobody can leave their stuff on the main floor. Now, my kids, my youngest so she's almost 20. So she was about 12 when we moved here. And that was my youngest. So they would have been 12, 14, and 16, give or take, when we moved here.
Yeah.
And so that was the rule, is you can't leave it on the main floor. Like when you're done on the main floor, you take your stuff back to your room or back down to the family room. The house before this, it was just don't leave it in the living room or dining room. Like,
right. You couldn't control
when
you
you're
couldn't
done,
have the
away
whole
you
floor.
Go. No, I couldn't have the whole floor. This house is laid out a little different, but there was still like when you bring your books or whatever to the living room or your toys or whatever, that's fine. But then back they go to where they belong when you're done, kind of thing. So that has helped a lot.
That's a very straightforward rule.
Like, yeah. And that's been since, they weren't babies, like, right? Like toddlers, where it had to be in the main area.
It's always going to change. Like you said, oh, well, this house is laid out differently. My kids are this age. It's going to change so much based on so many factors, like how your house is laid out, what you do for your job, how old your kids are. We're all going to have different things that, and we're also going to have different levels of what makes us feel that things are tidy, and we'll have that rub in families. Like I think we should put our homeschool stuff away between time, but not everybody thinks that in my family.
Right.
Because, they're just going to get it again very shortly. And so, you'll have some differing, and there will be some compromise too. You won't have everything perfectly tidy all the time. I get people all the time who are like, how do you keep your kitchen clean when you cook 3 times a day? And I'm like, I clean 3 times a day. That's the answer. Yeah. It gets clean fully 3 times a day.
I know. Everybody always thinks there's a magical something that they're missing. And it's like, no, realistically, I'm just cleaning up after I'm
Literally
done,
just clean it
right?
every time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that's just how it is. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We had a few questions about decorating specifically, and I know you
Okay.
talk a lot about decorating, so I love that.
Mm-hmm.
One is what to replace your TV with in the living room as the focal point. I also selfishly want to know the answer to this because I'm currently struggling with our whole TV situation, and I don't know. I've debated the projector thing, but then I'm like, do we have to, get it out every time? Do you have any insight?
Mm. So our TV is the focal point and it's over the fireplace, which is technically a designer no, but there's literally nowhere else to put it in the living room if I want a TV in there.
Right.
However, at previous houses, that's not been the case. The TV wasn't in the living room. In our first townhouse, the TV was actually in an upstairs room and not in the living room. And so what did we have? We had a pretty cabinet and some art. So if you don't want to have the TV in there, a lot of people do the whole, even if it is the TV, a lot of people do the frame TV or just art on the TV, if because frame TVs can be expensive depending on how big you need. But
we have it.
Yeah.
That's even what we have in our living room. But it's one of the original ones. Like I have a newer one and that in my bedroom, but in the living room, it's the original one. And it honestly, just in that room with the light, it's so obviously a TV, it's like, it almost is like worse because it's like, are you trying to fool me? Like
right.
it didn't work.
Oh, fair. Okay.
And it got hit with a Nerf or something. So it has a dot and a line across it. Cause at some point,
of course.
So it's like this big gold framed, like, thing that has damaged art. I'm like, this is not
that's
good.
Fair. Yeah. I mean, you can do art. You can do like actual art. You can do cabinets. You can do gallery walls. You can do, vintage art, family, like grid art, like family grid words, a grid of family pictures. Oh, gosh.
Yes.
Yeah. We've done several things like that. Like, you can do one big piece of art. You can still do, like a feature wall with a different finish on it, a different paint color, a different treatment, whatever. Yeah. There's lots of options for feature walls that aren't a TV. Like if you don't want to have a TV.
Yeah. And if you still want the TV, what I think our living room's kind of challenging because it's an old house, but it was definitely redone. And so there's a massive opening. So it's kind of not open concept, but kind of. And then there's windows on the other, like it's kind of a bay. So 3 walls. So if you didn't have a living room like that, what I think you should do, instead of trying to trick people into like, oh, there's not really a TV here, putting a little console type or whatever, like a small little table in a corner and just putting a regular TV kind of in the corner and then putting pretty art above the mantle, or we have a piano.
Yeah.
I think it'd be really cool. We don't really have space because of the way there's like no walls because it's all window, piano, bookshelf. And that's literally the only wall we have. But I think just kind of embracing it and being like, okay, here's the TV. Yeah. We're not hanging it on, like trying to make it like disguise it.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many. I know our next door neighbor, they actually have a fireplace at theirs too, but they don't have their TV above the fireplace like we do. They have it on a table to the side.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, you can totally do that. Ours actually, I just remembered too that while mine is above the mantle, I painted that whole section like a dark green. And so the TV actually really hides really well now in that dark green.
Kind of blends in.
Which is
that's
nice.
A good idea.
Because like we have open concept, like it's our kitchen island to the living room. And then the end is like,
so some rooms it would not work for.
There's no, anyway. Yeah.
That's how we are. There's really no other spot for it. And we're not huge TV watchers, but I mean, there's times we want to watch something as a family or even not as a family. And so I like having the TV. I know a lot of people are like, we don't have a TV, but then they're like, we just put our laptop up. I'm like, well, okay.
crowd 10 people around the laptop.
You can call it what you want.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah. And so I personally really like being able to, pop on a TV, but it is a challenge. I have seen people do really cool projectors where like a screen will come down mounted from the ceiling. So if you have a good place to stash the projector
or mount it on the ceiling at the other end.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
could mount it.
Yeah.
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 I think we have too many windows for it, but yeah, that would be
It's
an
possible.
option.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's tons of options, but TVs are tricky. Like back in the day when they were those big square boxes, you could put them in a cabinet and close the cabinet doors. But now that they're like the giant flat screens, like there's no cabinets for those, right? Like they're too big.
Yeah.
So, which is hilarious to me that
I know. Yeah.
Anyway,
I saw somebody on Instagram, they had this little like TV on a stand that came out and then it went away again.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And if we had a good closet, I think that would be really, again, that's kind of like having a laptop, but at least it's on a stand.
Right.
So you can present it where you want it.
Yeah. At one of our houses, we had a small TV because we didn't have a big one, but a small flat screen on a wall with pictures around it. So I don't know.
Yeah. If it's small, I could see how that would work.
Yeah, but not the big ones.
Have you ever seen, and I've never tried this, but I wonder about it, somebody who's like hacked a regular TV to put something on it. So it's not a frame TV, but it has something beautiful on it. Like the only thing I can really think of is the fireplace channel in the winter. I like that. But is there any other, like, have you seen something like that?
So on my TV, it's not a smart TV or a frame TV, and you can, so I have an Amazon Fire Stick. You can add an app that you can add pictures and just put pictures on the screen. So you don't have to have a frame TV.
See, so why did you get a frame?
I don't
honestly
know.
Like,
I don't know. Does it light different?
Okay.
Like with the picture? I don't even know on the frame TV. Like, does it?
No,
it's still
it's
okay.
terrible.
Well, then I don't know.
What it should do, and maybe they've improved it since I've purchased one, because I think the one in my room I'm sitting in right now, it's a lot better.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a lot better than the other one. But it should have like a sensor, so when it's bright, it would go brighter. And then at night, it would go dim because it looks like this bright art. It's definitely not.
That's so funny because I was always thinking like that it would do that. Like it would, or it was like, you know how like a Kindle e-reader, like the light comes in from the side instead of the back, like an iPhone. Yes. I thought it was like that when it like switched to the art on the frame TV, like it was nicer light, but it's not.
I think it's maybe nicer light, but it doesn't adjust for the daylight in the room. And so if you really want it to authentically look nice, you would need to, when it gets dark, turn it down a bit. And then when when it's bright, turn it bright, and it doesn't do that. And so I'm like, why wouldn't you just put a little picture on your Fire Stick? I didn't even realize.
Yeah, you can totally do that. I
figured there probably had to be some way to do that.
There's instructions. I'm trying to think it might have been Lauren at Bless Her House might have had instructions, but it might have been someone else.
She shows how to do that?
If you Google it, because I know I'm pretty sure she has a frame TV now too, but I think if you Google it, you can just, like there's instructions on the internet somewhere. I should just write them.
The one cool thing I will say about the frame is you can set it to where if it's dark in the room and there's no motion, it'll turn off.
Okay.
So I guess if you have a regular TV, you would just leave it up all the time.
Just leave it on or
and then I know Sarah from She Holds Dearly has a DIY like picture frame. Like you can make a frame for your TV.
Right.
So anyways, that's a whole tangent.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking about doing that too, just for wherever and making space wherever the sensor is, right? So that you can still use the remote.
That's very important. Yes.
Right? Like that's the only thing I could figure would be difficult.
Very true.
Anyway.
Okay. Another
TVs.
Yeah. TVs. They're such a decorating challenge. I think the best solution we came up with is if you have like a room, not like an open concept, just putting it in a corner on a table instead of like trying to disguise it would make the most sense for me personally. Okay. The other question on decorating I wanted to ask was tips for decorating on a dime. What kind of cheap or free statement pieces would you recommend? I
would say check out Facebook Marketplace or whatever sort of is in lieu of that where you live. If you don't have a sort of, I don't know, happening Facebook Marketplace sort of market in your area.
Yeah.
Because you can get some really, really beautiful pieces. And if you are at all handy with a paintbrush or can teach yourself, there's lots of resources for that. You can get some really awesome pieces. Our dining room buffet was a Facebook Marketplace find. I think it was $200 maybe. And it's great. And it's really pretty. And it's exactly the style I wanted. So that's
Facebook Marketplace is a good one.
That's for secondhand. We bought a couch and a couple of chairs. They were actually originally IKEA, but they were still in awesome shape. We bought those off there like years ago when we first moved here. So So if you're looking for where to get things, that's a great place. As far as, do you know what they meant? Like what the question or asked by statement pieces? Like what?
Like, what would you get first? Like what, say you had a house, you're not very inclined to decorating, which you obviously are, but you're trying, you've decluttered it. You're like, okay, now I have like a nice blank, clear mind space here. And now I'm going to add some statement pieces. Like what are some of the first pieces you might try to source?
So you want to figure out, depending on the room, like what the purpose of the room is, and you want to get those pieces first. So say it is a living room, like we've been talking about, you want to make sure that you get your seating in place first, before because that is decor, but it's not like the little bits and pieces of decor. Save that for last. That comes last. Don't go buy all the accents. Those are last.
Okay.
Buy like the things for the function of the room. Knowing, so part of the first step of decorating is figuring out what your style, sort of your unique style DNA is and what you like. I've sort of gone away a bit from like the named styles like country and farmhouse and that sort of thing, and more like uniquely what you like and sort of what that looks like. So based on that and what the function of the room is and the people who use the room, you need to get the core pieces first. So the couch, if it's a dining room, the dining room table and chairs, like those have to come before anything else does. From there, you can move on to like area rugs and curtains, and some lighting and things like that. And that will add another layer and level of style before you get to even art and bits and pieces, right? So figure out what your style is, know what the purpose of the room is, and get those pieces that fit that first before anything else.
Yeah. How do you find, you mentioned the style thing. How do you find that? And then how would you describe yours, just as an example?
So mine is sort of, now is sort of earthy, modern vintage, I guess. That's one of those things I actually dislike having to describe, lots of people do, but just, I know what I like. Your go-to list of design elements. So that is your, the colors you like, the patterns you like, the shapes you like, kind of thing. If you know, like a specific, like the original sort of named styles, one of those. So your go-to list of elements is really sort of what your styles are. And you find that by purposefully gathering inspiration and then looking for the similarities in those. So you purposefully look for things that you like, you gather those, and then you go through them. I often suggest on a Pinterest board, and go through them and go, okay, what do these have in common? What colors do they have in common? What shapes do they have in common? What textures and materials, that sort of thing. And so that's how, the gist of how to find your style. Yeah. And then that go-to list of elements really becomes like important when you go shopping for things, or even shopping in your house for things.
Yeah. I think it's a good idea to narrow that down before you go shopping, because maybe you haven't really done that yet and you're not even sure what it is. I was talking to a couple of my sisters and I was telling them that I think of it almost as like there's a feeling you like in your home. Like there's a feeling, if you could paint a picture of what you maybe like idealize how your life would be, and then you want your decor in your home to feel like that. I was kind of describing it like, you are like this and you are like this. Like, I don't know, just throwing it out there.
That's awesome. No, I like that. Like a feeling that matters. How do you want your home to feel?
Yeah. It kind of goes with how you like see yourself and the kind of lifestyle you live, is kind of what you're pulling your house. And even if the house doesn't necessarily reflect that naturally, you can create it. So yeah. In most places. Yeah, for sure. Okay. So tell us about the course and where to find that, and then where else to follow along with you, or the best place to see, your Christmas decor and how your home, like the DIY projects you're doing and all of that.
Yeah. More Style Less Mess. It will be open again for enrollment really soon. I'm going to put it on so that it's a little easier to find. The best place to go initially to find everything is homemadelovely.com. And from there, you can find everything. You can find my course, my podcast, all the social media handles are there. But then otherwise, on Instagram is probably where I share most of sort of just the day-to-day and little snip pictures of things and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Sneak peeks behind your process, which is really helpful when you're first starting to decorate, or maybe you want to, you don't feel like you're good at it. Seeing like someone like you in your process and sharing that, along the way is really helpful. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And we will leave all those links down in the show notes below.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
All right, well, I hope that you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you in the next episode of the Simple Farmhouse Life podcast.